You hear his warm, effervescent, booming voice at every LA Rams home game. He is a man who has created the Whose House, Rams House chant among many of his trademark words during games. It is Sam Lagana, stadium voice of the LA Rams. He's also an announcer host for other prestigious sporting events. Associate Vice Chancellor at Pepperdine. He's a philanthropist, and I think he's a scratch golfer, but that might actually be a little bit of a stretch. He's also a Wooden Award chairman. Sam, thanks for doing this.
Thanks, Bryan, for having me. It's great. Yeah, let's get back to that really important deembarkation, the scratch golfer. It's like this. I swing, I hit the ball, and I go, oh, what was that? I scratch. That's my scratch golfer. Wow, that's a great question. I don't think I've ever had that question before. But really, it wasn't a lot. What's kind of funny is what I did was, and this is back in 2016, so 5 seasons ago, I received this email in the spring, and it said, hey, if you might be interested in being the announcer for the Rams, record these lines. And so I started recording them, and I had written back, like, I can't get to a studio, until next week to record it, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, just record it on your iPhone. So I tried recording it in my office. That didn't sound good. I tried recording it kind of in the bathroom, because generally when you sing in the bathroom, it sounds better. So my theory was it would sound better in the bathroom. It didn't. I tried a hallway, and finally I found this little corridor between in a hallway and a room. And that sort of sounded the best into the iPhone that I was going to do. And I just sort of recorded them, run one after another. I did not go like 1, 10 times, pick the best, 2, 10 times, pick the best. I literally recorded the whole segment once.
Okay.
I recorded it a second time, and then I added my own little thing, which was, hey, it's time to every man, woman, and child to rise with the Rams. And so I added one more that I thought maybe would be kind of impactful as to how I would want to handle the crowd at the beginning of the game and maybe at halftime. And that's how it happened. And then I heard nothing for months.
When was the most chaotic it's ever been for you at your broadcast perch, but it could be in a gleeful way?
Just with the Rams or in any situation?
Let's go Rams, I guess. And then, start out with the Rams.
Okay, well, again, very insightful question, although you don't know the answer to this because I don't talk about it much, but here it is. We were playing the Minnesota Vikings, if you will, at home, and I had eaten a sandwich that was a prepackaged sandwich that was there, and I had grabbed it, and I decided to eat it about a half an hour before the game, figuring I'd been there since like noon. It was a Thursday night football game, and I thought, I better just get some fuel in me going into this night game. These generally are longer with commercials and everything else. So I was thinking, okay, let me do this. The most chaotic was about 5 minutes before kickoff, I got sick. The food did not agree with me. Apparently I'd been sitting, and that was bad. So I literally said to Garrett, who works with me as my spotter, I just literally I have a garbage can that's sort of next to me that I just throw paper in as I'm going through the game and notes and stuff. I just sort of picked that up, walked out the door, and didn't say anything to anybody. And I just told Garrett, I'll be back in a minute or so in case anybody's freaking out. And I literally just went outside. And luckily there was a woman who is the catering director, happened to see what I was doing, and she brought me some 7-Up very quickly. And I just went right back in and started Thursday night football. So for me, that was the most chaotic. I really don't remember most of the game, the first part of the game, because I was doing everything not to pass out or get sick again.
Sure. But you truly are the consummate professional, because nobody, not one person could have told or noticed that you had that going on, which speaks to just how talented you are. We were talking before this podcast, Sam, about a game that really emotionally resonated with you when the Rams played the Chiefs. And certainly there were fires going on in LA County and the surrounding area, and then also the unfortunate events that took place in Thousand Oaks. And for you, when you look at having an emotional impact on a game, where does that moment, that game, that weekend stand for you?
Yeah, that was the biggest heart tugs, to be honest with you. I had actually, the morning that the fire broke out, I had, so let me go back. So the unfortunate shooting at the Borderline Grill, as you mentioned, I work at Pepperdine. And so a number of our students go line dancing, or went line dancing at the Borderline Grill. And so you knew that was happening. And my daughter was studying abroad. She was a student at Pepperdine. She was studying abroad in Heidelberg. And I got a phone call from her in the middle of the night, which is extraordinarily rare. But if you think about it, she was 9 hours ahead of us.
Sure.
And those students were in Europe, had gotten information from their friends that they were classmates with, of what was happening at the Borderline Grill at like 11 or whatever time it was. So I didn't know about it live. I found out about it minutes later because, these cell phones and this information, these young people are connecting so quickly. So there was a shooting, as you well know. And unfortunately, a friend of mine who's an alum of Pepperdine, his daughter is a student there as well. Yeah. And Alana Housley passed away in that situation, along with the other tragic victims. And, we didn't know, we just knew that nobody could locate her that night. And her uncle came down and people were just trying to figure all this out. So that was a little hectic. And I had gone out to the Rams office early in the morning to do some voiceovers for the game that was going to be on Monday night. And I did that before I was going to go into the office because I had a meeting with a potential donor kind of over in the Conejo Valley near where the Rams office was. So it kind of made sense to me. I'll do that early in the morning. I'll then go to this meeting and I'll go to my office. In the meantime, I get there and Kevin Demoff from the Rams, the COO, sends me a text message that he didn't know that I was going to be at his office at that moment. Said, if there's anything the Rams could do to help, we know your students were affected in this tragedy. And I said, thank you and get back to you. And, I was kind of beaten up by the whole thing, but knowing I just sort of had to move through the day and then figure out what was next. And I went back over to the office after my meeting, and I was over at a friend's office on the same floor as mine. And she said, hey, the fire just broke out kind of up in Bell Canyon. And if you've lived in Southern California long enough, that depending on how the winds are blowing, this could be kind of immediate. And so we're kind of all dealing with this. And then we're thinking, wait, the path line could come straight this direction. And lo and behold, it did. And so the Woolsey fire then became a significant moment. And, we had to sort of make adjustments at the university, prepare, had to get students into safe places. People had to get home to get safe and so forth. So that was emotional those couple of days. And this is a bit longer than you would expect. But all of that goes into the whole part of then we get to Monday Night Football. Mm-hmm. And the team was supposed to play in Mexico City. And, earlier that week, which is why I had to go do the voiceovers that I normally wouldn't have done in Mexico, we had to make all these adjustments. The team was coming back. There were fires there. The players' families were being affected. Kevin was then obviously working with his staff to react to what they had to do. The office had to be closed because it was literally in the line of the fire path. So all of that was extraordinarily emotional. So many other fires were going on in the Southland, not just the Woolsey, but people's lives were being compromised. People we knew were losing their homes. Everything was just going down. and you really think it's a short time when you get from what I believe was a Thursday into, a Monday night football game. It's really not that many days, but you started to realize, like, on Sunday, like, this could be a moment of recovery, or, how all these things kind of work out, what's going to happen next. And it just became a real emotional thing, because the Rams did some extraordinary stuff to bring LA together. And under the leadership of Kevin Demoff and Stan Kroenke, this organization really was doing as much as it could to unify a very complicated situation in the city. At Pepperdine, we were trying to, work with the people in our communities that were being affected along the coastline in the Conejo Valley. And the Rams were working in the city of LA. And you realize that at some moment that, that Monday night game could really bring this city together in a really positive way. Yet we've had these terrible tragedies. So we had the opportunity to sort of honor those people whom lost their lives,
Sure.
remember them, and also recognize and honor in a kind of a different way all of those people that were fighting the fires and putting their lives at risk, like, the police officer who lost his life by running into the Borderline Grill to try to save that situation. So we had this Officer Hillis, and we had this opportunity to collectively bring everyone together.
Wow.
And I really think the Rams staff did an extraordinary job, because they really reached out and made it poignant. And in fact, that game was on television the other night on HBO.
That's right.
It was on ABC7. And it was just powerful. Very long answer. I apologize. But yeah, it was powerful. And the whole time, I'm thinking about Alana. I'm thinking about my friends who lost their homes, which I had a number of. I'm thinking about our fans that were impacted at the game, the people at Pepperdine, the students who were, trying to be in a safe position and be safe. So very, very overwhelming.
That was a very heartfelt response. And I could tell that there was so many different factors that played into those couple days for you. And just to see how well you handled it, how well the Rams did. And like you said, I think it gave the community something to be happy about, something to give them a positive boost. And you have always been, Sam, and Sam Lagana joins us, works with Pepperdine and, of course, the stadium voice for the LA Rams. You've always been so in tune with giving back. And that's something that's so important. And that's one of the reasons why I look up to you a lot, Sam, is that you love to help others. And you've always been a big difference maker in the community. And you do that at Pepperdine, and even getting to know you and seeing how much you care about the students, you care about the teachers there. And, you and I having conversations about the student athletes and how it just seems like every single one of them is part of your own family. That's the kind of connection that you have with them. And I'm assuming, given how hands-on you are able to be with the Wave student athletes, there have been stories that you've learned from them that have inspired you, that have been uplifting. And so I'm sure there's a whole lot of them that you have been able to accrue. But is there one from an athlete that's particularly uplifting that you recall, something you witnessed, something he or she told you that jumps to mind, that has a really warm, positive tone to it?
I think there is. It's kind of interesting. And I would say it's a student who wished and had hoped that they would be a great athlete. But in turn, they recognized that they weren't, and they pivoted. And to see that pivot moment where they recognized that, perhaps being the athlete that they had hoped wasn't going to be what their future was going to hold. So they pivoted, and it was powerful to me because they invited me into their life to help them with the pivot. And they could still be the great basketball player in the gym, in the community, but the desire and the intent and the greatness of the young man, Amir Mohammadzadi, who was from Alhambra, California, was just so evident. And his passion for sport, his passion for people, his passion to sort of create dynamic environments was really evident to me. And I'm blessed to still have a relationship with him today. And he went on to create a very successful social media, I'm going to call it an empire.
Wow.
It's called Rosewood. He and his business partner called Matt have a fantastic building and office on Venice Boulevard in Mar Vista. And they represent huge clients like Apple and Toyota and Sony and many more that I can't even name. But they have really created something where the two of them were looking at how to build something really great with sports. They met at Nike while working on some Nike programs. Amir was working in the inner city on basketball shoes and so forth. And Matt was working at Nike, and they decided to break away and start this, social media content program that has just become phenomenal. And what they're doing is just great. And Amir is just a great leader with great inspiration. And to this day, it just excites me to see his success. He bought his first home this last year. He's done so many great things. So just watching people's passion and knowing how kind of athletics helps people create structure in their lives, and then how to help them recognize that they can convert that structure into their professional life, and to see it happen on that pivot when they realize that, okay, this part of my life does end. I can go still shoot hoops anytime I want, but now I can be impactful with the skill set that I had gained and move forward. And so I really think the world of Amir Mohammadzadi and what he has done with this Rosewood that he and Matt have created and pioneered. I think they have 58 employees now. They're doing just phenomenal work.
The impact of Sam Lagana is far reaching, and I'm sure that he would say the same thing about you. You have praised him, but knowing how well you were able to get to know him, it goes both ways. How proud he is just to be able to know you. And again, it can't be stated enough how much you give back. And that's why, kind of pivoting back to the Rams here for a second, you really feel like, and this is what I love, you really get the opportunity to inject your personality in these games. And so when you had that conversation with the Rams, what sort of flexibility did they give you? Because you were able to be you on the mic.
Yeah. There wasn't really a handbook that they handed me on the NFL. Fortunately, I had announced sports before. I had announced, other football games, whether they be collegiate or arena football, and I had done some stuff for the NFL, tied into some NFL property stuff over the years. So I was blessed to have some experience in the game of football and understand the game and to broadcast it. But yeah, there was no real parameters other than, don't break this rule and this rule, which could get us a penalty, those kinds of things. And we worked together, hey, even the concept of, I'd like to try this rise with the Rams. They were like, okay, let's give it a try. If it works, let's go with it. And the Who's House, has become extraordinarily popular. I can't say that, or I wouldn't ask anybody to say, I didn't invent this thing, right? This is really organic. Yeah. People are into it, and maybe I help popularize it. I think that's the better terminology. And granted, it gets to be my voice that kind of leads it. But truthfully, it's all a work of order. And that goes back from the first day to from Chris and Corey that I work with from the first day to the team that I work with today, which is Sarah and Chadwick. And Corey is still on that, and Marissa, and then the team of people that I get to work with as well, where it's all integrated, where you've got, DJ Molsky and Serena, and we're bringing in this incredible guitarist, Strauss this year. And so there's so much great teamwork. And Garrett, who spots with me, he is just a great asset to have alongside. So it's great, and we just get to kind of feel the game and look at it from the eyes of someone who's interested in the game, and I'm there being an observer and a commentator, and I have to create the right time frames for when something's serious, when it's the announcement of, hey, now's how we have to exit the stadium, to take on a tone that conveys that message, and when it's time to say it's third down, and to get our fans maybe a little bit more pumped to stay in the confines of the rules of the NFL. That's important. And to, when it's a touchdown LA, it's a shared experience that, the Rams want to have as a brand, touchdown LA. I think credit goes to JB Long for kind of starting that line. So I think we all contribute so much to it, and it's fun to work with Maurice and to, DeMarco, and the Rams are really inclusive into how they do things. And we're all working, this marketing department that the Rams have, they're very, very willing to work with us and help us connect with the community. And I think we have a really good team of people that can connect with the community that are not just players, whether those are staff people, players, the executives and so forth. And then there's those of us who have the opportunity to help the Rams along with some of their, voice work and stuff like that.
Sam Lagana joins me. I'm Bryan Fenley. You have had the opportunity to check out the new specs at SoFi Stadium. How does your voice sound? The acoustics inside that palatial, incredible building, stadium, just amazing piece of work.
Yeah, Bryan, it's crisp. It's really crisp. So I'm going to try to give you an example of the difference of the crispness right now. So in the Coliseum, it's like this. Go Rams, right? Whatever. Yeah. It's like this long delay.
Okay.
So I would say something and it would come out seconds later, and then it bounces off the peristyle and you hear it again.
Yeah.
And it's just echoing around. The Coliseum, the Rose Bowl, both are over 100 years old, and they were single source sound systems. Well, the video board wraps all of these sound systems, like 7 miles of audio wires in that video board. And so the speakers are coming straight at you. And so they're very, very clean, very, very clean. And so when you say hello, it's hello, faster than it is on this internet feed that we're on right now. So that's impressive, and it's crisp. And so, it'll be interesting. I'm a little nervous, honestly, going into this first game because there's not going to be the real crowd that sort of breaks things up. So, I'm going to be heard, and sometimes you'll drag out your Los Angeles Rams. Well, that may not sound right or perfect with an empty stadium, because there's nothing that's absorbing that sound, right? It's just going to be going bang, 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 bang all around the building. So we're going to have to see and work our way through this season with, not too many fans. I don't know whether we're going to get more fans or we're going to get any fans. I guess, right now it's 70,000 plus empty seats. So it'll be, interesting. I do know, I think from what the Rams have told me, they're going to pipe my voice through to the season ticket holder somehow.
Nice.
So
that's awesome.
Kind of interesting, and try to get some feedback. Yeah. You just you wonder, like, if you drag something out, how long does it sound, when it's that clean? So, I'm not usually yelling either. It's usually the microphones and how loud they are. And so, it just comes off, and I'm just working off my mic. So that's how it goes.
Yeah, it's going to be a different dynamic with, at least at the beginning of the season, not having any fans. But we are going to hear on Sunday night your voice loud and clear. I cannot wait for that. How about when you had the opportunity, I'm assuming you had the opportunity to walk the field, and were you able to walk the field and kind of get a vantage point from that perspective?
Yeah, I've been really blessed that the Rams have invited me out on a number of occasions to the stadium during the whole construction. So from dirt to concrete to when the turf was laid down. So yeah, the field is incredible, and the field with the video board up above you it's awesome. I mean, the place is amazing. I keep saying it's the most amazing stadium in the world. I've been blessed to be in many different stadiums. That is the most amazing stadium in the world.
Yeah.
I think it trumps U.S. Bank Stadium. It trumps AT&T Stadium in Dallas. It's just spectacular what Mr. Kroenke has done for Los Angeles, building the first football stadium in over 100 years, and what the Rams have done under Kevin Demoff to get to this position to be successful. And the Chargers are going to wind up benefiting from this tremendously. This stadium is just going to be great. I just wish that fans could be in there. Really, it makes me terribly sad that they can't go in there. I don't feel like, oh, I get to be there and nobody else. No. It's all about wanting fans there. I want people to rally this team. It's going to be loud, though, Bryan. It's going to be so loud in there. That's going to be amazing. It's truly going to be amazing when you see how loud it is when those finally get 70 to 100,000 fans in there. Amazing how loud it's going to be. And they will make a significant difference in the life of the game because of their, prowess as fans during defense and their silence during offense. It's really going to lay out in a remarkable way. So I think it's something we're all excited to see. But the field itself is beautiful. I mean, it feels great. The sight lines to the field, from the field up to the crowd. I mean, the players are going to be able to see this vision board incredibly well from the field. So they're going to be able to look up. They're not going to be like that. You always see shots of the replays and the guy on the sideline, he's always like this. It's not going to be like that. The guy's going to be like this, just looking kind of straight up at the vision board with the camera, because it's everywhere. It's amazing.
Wow. I read a profile piece on you, Sam, and you were asked, what's the biggest thrill of your job as the stadium announcer? And it was seeing a family and being able to entertain them and have a smile on their face and getting them involved in the game with the cheering and with the pageantry and the camaraderie. My final question for you, and Sam Lagana is with us, Associate Vice Chancellor at Pepperdine, does amazing work there, also stadium voice for the Rams, among many of his other titles, many others. I'm Bryan Fenley. You have been big in the volleyball world as well as a player, an announcer, and you've gotten to know over the years Geeter. Do you have a funny story about Geeter in your ability to work together or to share an experience or an event together?
Okay, so this is not fair to Chris McGee, aka Geeter, but we're gonna go there anyway. So I am fortunate to have known Chris since Chris was an undergraduate at Cal State Northridge. At that time, I worked at Cal State Northridge and was assistant athletics director in charge of our marketing, external affairs, and so forth. And we had created a program as Cal State Northridge was moving from Division II to Division I. And in that program, we were sort of trying to define the athletic program a little differently, right? So the mascot there is the Matadors. So we created something called the Mata Maniacs, kind of a support group. I don't know what that it is at like what UCLA calls their student group, but different schools have different names. And so we were creating something. This is back in the 80s, the Mata Maniacs, and we coined the building the Mata Dome. As we were getting ready to go. It's not a dome, in case anybody knows. It's just a really square box. But we figured nobody outside of Northridge was going to know that it wasn't a dome, and it sounded a lot better than Kinesiology PE 100, which is actually what the room is called. So we called it the Matadome and the Matamaniacs. And what we would do is pair up teams and students to support one another and go out and be supportive. And so basketball, is obviously a high-profile sport for schools. And so during the basketball season, the volleyball team was coming in to be the Matamaniacs for the basketball team. And Chris was one of the Matamaniacs as a young buck. And, I didn't know much about him, a kid from Crespi in the San Fernando Valley, if you will. A nice young man, but I really didn't know him from anyone. But he was on the team. And then the Matamaniacs dressed up, and a letter came to us after a home basketball game that said, I took my son to this game, and there was a gentleman dressed in blue sweatpants with a red Speedo, and he had some things in his Speedo that made it an uncomfortable situation for me and my son. And I'm like, this is not where we're trying to go with this program. And so the kids had dressed up, right? And they wore some wild costumes and so forth. And so Chris, I guess, had these, these navy sweats on and put some Speedos over them or something. And so I found out, I thought I knew who it was. And so as an administrator, I asked the coach if he could send the student to see me. And because the athletic director told me I needed to take care of this problem before it became a problem. And so I came in, and the reality of it was basically Chris came in, and he's a young guy, and he's sitting in my office. I'm a young, very young administrator, not much older than Chris. And I just take the letter I get, and I just slide it over to him and ask him I said, please read this. And then his face just dropped. He's like, oh my God, I'm sorry. And he had taken some socks and enhanced his outfit a little bit with them. And he felt terribly, reached out to the people himself. I mean, that's the quality of the guy. So more it's the quality of the guy. He reached out to them himself, apologized to us, apologized to basketball, was just outstanding. And then, was a member of the volleyball team and so forth. And fortunately, a very successful program, got to the NCAA championships against the Bruins, played at Pauley Pavilion, but lost to the championship, but did a great job. That team had a great success under Coach John Price. Matt Unger set that team, but Chris was the number 2 setter for that team at that time. And so it was kind of fun. And then I had moved on in my career and was running a club volleyball program, and Chris became one of our coaches. So it was kind of cool. And as I started contemplating retiring from announcing, because I was having my family, and my mom had recently passed away, and she was willing to help with our kids, but now there wasn't that extra help, and me being gone over the weekends for, 20 some weekends a year wasn't going to be healthy for our family. So I sort of let people know that I thought Chris would be a great person to take on those responsibilities. And I'm just a huge advocate for him. And, Tom Fewer saw him in volleyball and then gravitated to pulling him into working on the Fox Sports Net and Prime Ticket broadcasts. And Chris has just risen from there, but he's got that right personality. But true to what I told you earlier, it's his core, and it's the core of that young man that I got to see that was really cool. And I still am impressed with Chris McGee, Geeter. I rarely call him Geeter. I call him Chris. But I am still impressed with him to this day. And his passion for the game, when I was announcing volleyball, I always spent a lot of my focus time with the fans and the corporate partners that were helping us elevate the game and take it to America. Chris's relationships with players was even more intense than mine. And he had just an extraordinary way to get along with those players and support them as their announcer. And so I think the dynamics, the dynamical change when I retired and he rolled in, I think was really positive. And I've always been impressed with him. And, someday I hope that he gets into the Beach Volleyball Hall of Fame as an announcer, because he did a lot to really help the sport.
Powerful words there from Sam Lagana. It sounds like you could not be more proud of Chris, and I certainly really enjoy his work. I had the opportunity to meet him a couple months ago at UCLA at a beach volleyball event, and just like you said, a class act and certainly a reflection on you because you are a class act. You are one of the best in the business, as talented as they come, but also a man who really cares and who really gives back, and you've had an indelible effect, a mark on so many people around you. Sam, I am so thrilled for you to get this football season going. I can't wait to hear your voice on the loudspeakers, and then soon enough, we'll hear that euphoria, fans coming back in, and then it's going to be really go time for you and the Rams. Thanks so much, Sam, for coming on. I'm Bryan Fenley. Well, your voice is anything but scratchy, and you can find Sam on Twitter. He's a big deal because he has multiple Twitter profiles. Pepperdine Sam, you can follow him there. Also, Rise Rams. Rise Rams is a place to go for all Rams fans, obviously. I'm Bryan Fenley. I work at Fox Sports Radio, and I'm on Twitter at Bryan Fenley. Your audition to take over as the stadium voice for the Rams, Sam, how many times did you give yourself to nail the 7 lines that the team wanted you to read, that you would send into them for an audition?
Thank you, Bryan. God bless you.